Much, Babake, for the news. Now, earlier, well, last week, I think Nigeria and Lagos in particular was shut down. If you were not at any event on social media week, then where were you? Because obviously Nigeria has become very social, and media, I mean, we cannot take it away. Social media and Nigerians, it keeps growing, it keeps growing. And as our guest today will let us know, it's grown to something that is taking over, almost literally. Well, our guest today is the co-founder and executive director of Social Media Week here in Nigeria. Her name is Ngozi Oditta, and today we have the pleasure of speaking to her post SMW Week, what's happened, the history, and just to throw more light in case for some people this is your first time hearing about it. Hello, Ngozi. Nice to have you on the show.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
So I was wondering how long the Social Media Week has been in existence, because this year it was everywhere. It seemed like on every post, before you took a swipe on Instagram, like with every swipe, you could see one or two Social Media Week posts. How long has it been in existence here in Nigeria?
This is our 6th year doing it. So 2013 was our first year doing the event.
And how has the transition been between 2013 and 2016? How many sessions did you first have, and how many sessions do you have now?
So I think the funny thing is that the first year was very well received. Like, we had no idea, would people be interested? And people were like, how are you going to talk for a week about Twitter? That doesn't make sense. But the first year we probably had maybe like 100 sessions. So we still had a lot. But this year we had 211 sessions across the week. Yeah.
And in different locations as well.
Well, for the most part, the majority of the sessions happen at what we call our campus, which is at Landmark Center. But then there are a few off-satellite events that event partners do, but the majority of all the sessions happen on campus.
All right, so let's go back to the very beginning with regards to what is Social Media Week. And let's not assume that people know about it. What is Social Media Week, and how does it happen? What happens during Social Media Week?
So essentially, it's a way to look at how social media, but also like technology and like digital media and digital tools, how are people across sectors and across communities using social media? So it's not just like, oh, what are social media managers doing at companies, but we have people who are in education. We had like several sessions on agriculture and how people are creating apps and different digital tools to help farmers. We had like a Women in Tech Day. So it really just crosses all industries and sectors, even like film, fashion. We hosted sessions on film and fashion. We actually had a whole entire space dedicated to the creative sector.
Wow, so you had basically social media and its relationship in almost every facet and every area of life.
Yeah.
How do people get access to this? Was it a free for all event?
So essentially the event is free and open to the public, but then if you did not register in advance, there was a gate fee of $1,500. But you had up until the 19th of February to register online for free to attend.
Okay.
I think that's very good.
So that's fair enough, to be honest. And for those who wanted to have sessions, what was the criteria you used to select the sessions that were able to happen on Social Media Week?
So we put out an open call, and it's really different formats of sessions, and it's open to anybody to submit, but it's kind of a very rigorous. We probably have over 300 like submissions for probably around 60 slots, because the other slots are people that we've been working with, partners and sponsors who produce programming. So probably of the 300 public submissions we get in, maybe about 15% of them actually end up on the main stage.
Wow, and like Olive mentioned, what is the criteria for people who might be looking to submit their, their proposals for this year?
Well, every year we like have some sort of theme. So this year it was closer, like how are we using social media and digital tools to bring people closer together, communities closer together, but then also disrupting like different industries. So we kind of look at like relevance, like is the topic you submitted relevant? Then also we look at your expertise level. So we always also ask people to submit, like, have you spoken at other places? Have you done programming other places? And then we look at that and pick from.
Now let's look at social media. Lots of people have advocated that social media is a tool that divides much more than it unites. Now, back in the day, it was easier for the three of us to have a conversation without social media. But now it does seem that three people can be together, but not together.
Right.
How are we able to remedy this? Because people are talking less. People are finding out information about each other online as opposed to really having worthwhile communications.
So that was that was why we chose the theme of closer, to kind of look at like that contradiction. Social media does kind of isolate you in a way because you can do everything online. You don't have to go outside and talk to people. You can talk to them online. But then we also believe that it can bring people together, does bring communities together, and how are we doing that? And then we also think by creating this event that's offline and in real life, you get all these people in a room, and then what happens when that occurs? And so many people are like, I've never met this person in real life. We only communicate on social, but now during social media week, like we're having an actual conversation that's not online. So I think that's a part of it too, like gathering as many people in the room to have like real life conversations as well.
Brilliant. Now, from the last week, what would you say stood out the most for people who attended and also for people who held sessions? What were some of the highlights from Social Media Week in 2018?
I think just maybe the sheer numbers, like people don't always, there's so many sessions, so you have to wonder like, are they gonna be full? Are people gonna attend? And then you wonder what's gonna be like the most popular. And ironically, we launched in Africa with something we started this year for the first time for startups, to look at like startups who are just starting out. And that actually was probably our most popular session. We had over 600 people attend that session. And we never would have thought like virtually unknown companies people would be so interested to find out about them. So I think that was one thing that was very surprising for us. But the fact that people literally come on Monday and they're there every single day, like it was just incredibly just people just talking and gathering. And I think that's what is really special about the week, that it's not just what happens in the sessions, but what happens outside of the sessions, like in the different spaces that we create for people to kind of just hang out and talk. And I think that's probably what people take away the most, like those conversations and connections that they make just talking.
Some people would get their next job just by attending that.
So.
Some people will start up businesses just by having interactions with people in the same space. Let's talk about you and you deciding to start Social Media Week. There was nothing like that in Nigeria before. And you're not based in Nigeria, if I'm correct. What were the challenges you faced and how were you able to conquer them?
So Social Media Week is a global event. It started in New York City, which is where I live. So in New York, I would produce programming for the one in New York City, but I would talk about digital trends and what people were doing across the continent. But I was doing this in New York City. And I also did talks like that at different conferences across the US. But then I started to feel like, why are we always having conversations about Africa in America? Why can't people who live on the continent have their own conversations and people around the world get a firsthand take on what people are doing locally? So that was kind of the reason I wanted to bring it to Nigeria. And most people were like, that's not going to work there. Like, nobody's going to go. Maybe do it in South Africa or Nairobi. You know, things are so much more, I guess, organized. But I believe that here, I mean, I don't know. I think there's nobody more social than a Nigerian. Nigerians are always talking. We're always out and about. We're always interested in what's next and just doing things. So I felt that it would be really successful here. And thus far, in Lagos is the most social city out of all the social media weeks that occur around the world. We always have the most attendees. We always have the most impressions online. So it's proof positive that Nigerians are more social.
But how are you able to deal with it when they told you this won't work in Nigeria? So you must have nursed the fear of starting a venture that might potentially be a failure. How are you able to deal with this fear and just go ahead and do it anyway?
I just, sometimes you just do things and you just have to say, even though everybody's like, it's not going to work, nobody's going to get on board. You just have to have faith. I think that was merely it, because everyone was like, people are not going to sponsor an event about Twitter, because in 2013, Twitter was like the big thing and the tool that most people were using. And surprisingly, people were interested. At first, they were like, oh, I don't know. But then more people got on board. And then once the event happened and people saw so many people were interested in just having conversations about what they're doing or learning, I think that is what stands out the most, that people want to learn. There's so many people here that, from students to people who've been in the industry for years, they're eager to learn what's next. And I think that's what our platform provides and why people keep coming back, because they want to know what's new. They want to stay on top of what people are doing around the world. They don't want to be left.
Wonderful. Now, thank you very much for bringing it to Nigeria and not South Africa or Kenya. All right, now, talking about what's next. What is next for Social Media Week?
It's always so hard because you do one thing and everybody's like, oh my God, this is amazing. Then you're like, okay, like, what are we going to do that's going to be different? So we're still thinking. I know for this year, Landmark Center has been kind of our host venue for now going on 4 years. So they added a new building. So for this year, our new thing was like, okay, now it's in 2 buildings so we can increase our programming. I don't know what we're going to do next for next year. So it's like we always want to continue to add value. Like, so we look at our feedback, like attendee surveys, and see what attendees are saying was great, what they feel is lacking, and then we figure out how we can improve upon the event. So that's what we'll be doing, spending this month and next month, like really looking at what can we do to be better as a conference.
And how do people get to know when you've put out the call for invitations and people who really just want to be a part of Social Media Week? How do they get to know?
So they can follow us on, any social media platform at SMW Lagos, or they can just send us an email via our website, which is smwlagos.com.
All right, brilliant. Before we let you go, I know Olive already asked you about yourself, but I'm quite curious. What's your background, Ngozi? This young lady come from New York. Were you born in Nigeria? Did you grow up in Nigeria? Just tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I grew up in New York City, and I would come back and forth as a child. But after I got out of college, I went to college and I studied business. So I have a degree in business administration. But I knew early on that I didn't want to work for anybody else. So I never went on any job interviews or anything. I just said, okay, I'm going to start a business. So my first business was actually in fashion. I came home and started designing stuff and then came to America and started selling the things. But as I did that, I was sharing with people more about like my experiences in Nigeria and just traveling around Africa. So as more and more people got interested in that, and as social media and digital kind of expanded, that became another avenue for me to like continue to tell these African stories. And I think it just that's kind of the whole point of it. Like, how are we sharing stories about what people are doing in Nigeria and across Africa? And social media is the best way to do that.
And here you are.
Yes.
Now, are we looking at expanding the Social Media Week Lagos into maybe getting to Ghana, South Africa, Nairobi? Do you look at getting to other parts of Africa?
So it's actually, you acquire a license to do it in the city. So there is one in Accra.
Okay.
Actually, the team from Accra was in Lagos this week attending. So I think they did it for the first time last year. So 2018 will be their second year doing it. So it can be produced in other cities. People always ask us, will we do it elsewhere? And it takes a full year to plan it. So I couldn't imagine having to like think about planning it in another city. So Lagos is where our heart is at and where our focus is at.
Brilliant.
Brilliant. And I like that. If you have a focus in something, you don't have to do things that you will not be able to do well. So just focus. Focus. All right. That's what we're leaving or taking away from our wonderful interview with Ngozi, amongst many other fantastic things as well. Thank you very much, and congratulations on proving them wrong that Lagos would not work. We work.
Indeed, we did.
All right. Before we let you...
To enjoy more of these our Ogbonge videos when you just watch, press this button to subscribe on top of our YouTube page. You go love am.